Hi, my name is Dorothy. You're watching this video because your state has agreed to participate in the National Core Indicators Staff Stability Survey. Your state believes that the quality and stability of the direct support professional workforce is critical to ensuring quality outcomes for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Your input in this survey will help make sure that the state has accurate and representative information on the DSP workforce. This information will help the state design policies and programs around the DSP workforce to help both DSPs improve outcomes for people with disabilities and help providers in the midst of the DSP crisis. Thank you for taking the time to complete this survey. I'm going to go over some instructions before we go into the online tool and look at how your data will be entered. First off, if you think you've received the survey in error, you have questions, you don't provide any of the services specified or in any of the settings specified, you don't have DSPs for whom your agency defines wages and benefits, please email your state contact. Your state contact's information is available both in the email you received with the link to the survey tool online and on the top of the survey instructions page. The survey will ask about the following information for DSPs who are on payroll for any length of time during the period of January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018, and for whom your agency defines wages and benefits. The survey will ask about date of hire, whether they are currently on staff or separated from your agency during 2018, their date of termination if they separated or left your agency, whether they work full-time or part-time, hours and wages, and benefits such as paid time off, etc., health insurance, for example. This survey is designed for completion by organizational staff in your human services or payroll departments. You may require information from program directors, so it is best if you review the survey questions and seek additional input as needed. You can enter the survey as many times as you wish using the link that is available in the email you received. If you click Save at the bottom of each page, the results that you have so far entered will be saved. And even if you click Finish at the end of the survey, you can still go in and change things. In addition, I'll show you at the top of the instructions page, you can download a printable version of the survey. So you can go answer some questions on paper and then come back and enter them into the online system. For the purposes of this survey, we ask that you include these types of workers in your responses about DSPs. DSPs are defined as paid staff members whose primary job responsibility is to provide support, training, supervision, and personal assistance to adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities, IDD. Paid staff members who spend at least 50% of their hours doing direct support tasks may be considered DSPs. Please do not include workers such as licensed healthcare staff, such as therapists, nurses, social workers, psychologists, etc. Please do not include please do not include employees who only provide transportation or home modifications and or meal delivery. Please do not include contract or 1099 workers. Do not include on-call or PRN workers. Please don't include staff hired through a temporary personnel agency or admin staff or supervisory staff, unless they spend 50% or more of their time doing direct support work. In addition, regarding host, foster, or family home arrangements, please respond only about DSPs who are employed and work in addition to the primary shared living or foster care provider. If your agency functions solely as a fiscal intermediary or employer of record, please do not respond to this survey and contact your NCI Staff Stability State Contact. Please think about DSPs who work in one or more of these three types of settings when you're answering this survey. Residential support. Residential supports are supports provided to a person in a home or apartment that is owned and or operated by your agency. Some specifications here. This includes residential settings in which people do not live in their family home or their own private home or apartment, which they rent or own outside of the purview of an agency. If the service recipient holds a lease with your provider agency, this is considered a residential support or service. Include 24-hour supports, such as a group home or an agency-operated apartment or ICF-ID, and foster home or host home services. In-home support settings is a setting in which your agency does not own and or operate the home in which the person lives, but somebody goes in and provides things like homemaker or personal care services. And then non-residential supports are things like day programs and community support programs, which are supports that are provided outside an individual's home, such as day program supports, community supports, job or vocational services, etc. So now with all of that information, we are going to go and look at the ODESA system, or the Online Data Entry Survey application, where you will enter your responses to the survey. So if you clicked the link in the email that you received, you will be taken directly to this page. This is the instructions page of the online survey tool, or ODESA. Here is where you can download a printable version of the survey for your reference. Your state contact's name will be located right here, and as a reminder, your state's due date will be written right here. For most states, it is June 30th, 2019. This page goes over the instructions that I just described on the PowerPoint presentation. Please do review them in detail before you begin the survey. So let's go to the first page. At the top of the first page, we ask for your agency name or code number. This is completely optional. We then ask whether or not your agency only supports adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities. This means, does your agency only support that population and does not support children, does not also support people with mental health diagnoses? If yes, you can continue on to question 4. If no, we ask that if your agency does provide supports to other populations, can you isolate and report separately on the wage, vacancy, benefit information of those DSPs who do work exclusively with adults? If yes, please do refer to that population of DSPs when answering the survey, and if no, you can continue with the survey and refer to all DSPs, regardless of which population they work with. Question 4 then asks whether or not you have any direct support professionals on payroll as of December 31st, 2018. If no, we ask that you do not continue with the survey. We then ask whether or not your agency was in operation for at least 6 continuous months between January 1st, 2018 and December 31st, 2018. If no, we ask that you do not continue with the survey. Questions 6 through 12 will ask about those settings, the residential support, in-home support, or non-residential support settings that we talked about before. And we ask whether or not you provide at least one of the above types of support, so at least one of residential, in-home, or non-residential supports. If no, we ask that you do not continue with the survey. If yes, you can go on to question 7, which asks about residential supports, and then how many adults are being provided residential supports as of December 31st, 2018. We then ask the same question about in-home supports and non-residential supports. Question 13 asks whether or not your agency provides services which are licensed or certified as intermediate care facility for people with IDD or ICFDD. We then ask how many adults with IDD were enrolled in residential, in-home, or non-residential services or approved for such services from your agency at any point in the month of January 2018. And we ask the same question about December 2018. The purpose of these 2 questions is to ascertain whether or not your agency went through some sort of downsizing, which would explain a large turnover rate, which we will calculate using questions that will be asked later in the survey. We then ask whether or not your agency is private, for-profit, non-profit, county or local government, or other governmental entity. We then click Save and go to the next page. Once we've clicked Save, all of the responses that we've answered have been saved in the system. Question 17 asks about the number of direct support professionals that were on your payroll as of December 31st, 2018. You'll enter that number in 17, and that's a very important number, so you might want to write that down or keep it in mind. Because your response to question 18 must add up to the response that you've put in question 17. Question 18 asks about how long those DSPs have been continuously employed. Question 19 asks how many DSPs left your agency in the past year in 2018. Question 19, you put that number right here. And the number that you provide in question 19 must be the sum of the responses you put in question 20. Question 20 asks how long those people were continuously employed. So you put the number of DSPs who, when they left the agency, who were employed for less than 6 months, between 6 and 12 months, etc. So the answers in question 20 must add up to 19. Question 21 must also add up to question 19. It asks you to categorize those people who left the agency by the reason for which they left the agency, whether or not they were terminated or they quit. We ask if you differentiate between full-time and part-time DSP positions, the minimum number of hours per week to be considered full-time. We ask how many are full-time, and then how many full-time positions are vacant as of December 31st. 24 and 25 will then be added up together to equal your total number of full-time positions filled and unfilled. We then ask the same thing about part-time employees. Question 27 is part-time employees. We then ask how many positions are vacant, and then we calculate the total number of part-time positions filled and unfilled. As a reminder, question 24, the number of full-time employees plus the number of part-time employees must equal the number of direct support professionals that are currently employed. We then ask about on-call or PRN workers and the number that are employed. Let's save and go to the next page here. This page we ask about wages. And we start by asking about average starting hourly wages for DSPs. We ask that you do not include overtime wages, wage bonuses, don't include contract or 1099 workers, on-call or PRN workers, or staff hired through a temporary personnel agency in your responses. And your responses to this page should refer to 2018. So we ask about the average starting hourly wage across all settings, residential, in-home, and then non-residential services. The next question asks about the mean hourly wage regardless of length of employment. So people who have just started, also people who have been there for 10 years, the average hourly wage of all DSPs providing supports to adults with IDD. We ask across all settings, residential, in-home, and non-residential. We then ask you to tell us how you calculated that number. And you choose which one of those methodologies you used. We then ask you to provide the gross paid regular hours and gross total wages paid for all DSPs, then broken out by residential, in-home, and non-residential. We ask whether or not you have a different pay scale for part-time and full-time DSPs. We ask whether you have a different pay scale for DSPs who provide job development or job placement services when compared to DSPs in other non-residential services like day supports or sheltered workshop, for example. We would like you to compare those who are in job development to those who are in those who provide supports in sheltered workshop or day services. And then we ask about ongoing support, like a job coach. Do they have a different wage scale when compared to DSPs in non-residential settings? Next page, we ask about wage bonuses, and we ask the total number of DSPs who got a wage bonus. Not the number of bonuses given, but the number of DSPs who got a wage bonus. We ask about the average amount of that bonus. Then we ask about the total number of regular hours you paid to DSPs. This should be the same answer that you provided in question 34A on the previous page. We then ask the total number of hours paid to DSPs for time they spent working in overtime status. The next page asks about benefits. We ask whether or not you provide any type of paid time off to DSPs. If not, you can skip ahead. But if yes, we ask if you offered pooled paid time off, which is a benefit in which your agency does not distinguish by category of time off. It's all pooled. And then we ask about the eligibility for that type of benefit. We then ask about paid vacation time and the eligibility, paid sick time and the eligibility, paid personal time and eligibility, health insurance, and eligibility, and we ask how many DSPs of full-time, part-time status were eligible for the health insurance benefit, and then those who actually enrolled. We ask about dental coverage, vision coverage, and retirement plans, and then we ask about other benefits. We ask about different recruitment and retention strategies, and then this last page we ask about frontline supervisors. And we ask about the number of frontline supervisors you employ, how many hours of overtime they were paid, and then how many, the total number of frontline supervisor positions that were paid overtime in your agency in 2018. And then we ask for some information on you, your email address if you're willing to be contacted to verify information. It will not be shared with the state. and some comments.